Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to episode 9 of Pain to Joy. My name is Danielle Suddy, and I felt inspired by something in the last few minutes and thought that I would share. But first, I will ask you, how's your heart today? Mine's up and down, feeling all the emotions. I'm not sure if it's because I wanted the Edmonton Oilers to win the Stanley Cup finals, and then I love watching a trophy presentation and watched all the interviews and felt really happy for the people that did win and their stories. And there are actually a lot of Canadians on the Florida team. And I'm not sure if that just brought up something in me. And then as I was packing to go to Canmore and spend some quality time with my brother and his family, I keep revisiting and keep re-seeing this reel. Either other people are posting it or I keep seeing it, and I won't read the whole thing, but it's Alan Watts. His voice is so incredible, and he's speaking saying, "One of the greatest tragedies in life is that you will always be loved more than you will ever know." And he goes on to talk about instances where you walk by somebody down the street, and as you walk away, they're thinking about your smile. You are missed when you're not there. Somebody somewhere is thinking about you right now from years ago or someone you saw 5 minutes ago. And it really makes my heart expand thinking about that. And it also makes me sad because I think sometimes we don't realize how special and significant we are. And I think the reason I felt called to share this was that I want all of us to remember that. I want myself, I want all of us, all of you to remember that you are so loved. I often share on my stories on Instagram and Facebook, you are loved, you are necessary, you are needed, I love you. And I think it's because I don't think there can ever be enough love. I think we can always share more love and more love and more love. Originally, I had called my Instagram account Love You More. And it wasn't that idea of, I love you more. No, I love you more. It was actually love yourself more. Because I believe that if we love ourselves more and more and more, and sometimes we have to be so intentional about it and really ask ourselves, wait a second, how could I love myself more? I know for me, recent dating experiences, sometimes being triggered, which I actually, after doing a lot of inner work and a lot of moving through triggers and past traumas, I almost think it's funny because I think, oh my goodness, I didn't realize all these triggers were there. I didn't realize that there was still some unworthiness or some maybe feeling unheard or unloved or something that I didn't even know was there, because I feel like I've done such a great job for years now to really love myself up and to really self-nourish and self-love. But a gift that has come from getting back into dating is taking time to take care of myself, to nourish myself. I think as a recovering people pleaser and someone who is securely attached but can lean toward anxious at times, it is probably my first instinct to see how everyone else is doing, not just in dating, but in life. How's everybody else doing? Which at times I've realized has become a distraction from taking care of myself. I think that also might be a trait that empathetic people have and many, many women have. I do believe that this is something that I think we learn and gets passed down from generations, but this idea of loving and caring and being concerned so much more about everyone else and often forgetting about ourselves in the mix. And so in this moment, my question to you would be, what are some ways that you have loved yourself in the last few days, in the last week? What are some ways that you've nourished yourself in the last few days, the last few weeks? I used to be a high school teacher. We are nearing the end of June. This is one of the busiest, most exhausting times of the year. You're getting marks in. You're just trying to survive until the end of the month. And so I can imagine that many of my teacher colleagues and friends might not have even had a moment to think about self-care, self-nourishment. And so we really have to be intentional about it. I think it's even more important when we're in those times where we know we're going to be super busy, when we know we're going to be swamped, to some way, somehow schedule in a moment for yourself. Because if I'm honest with myself, if I don't make it intentional and schedule it when I'm around more people, then it doesn't happen. And so the invitation is, what self-nourishing, self-loving, self-care activity or activities could you schedule for yourself in the coming days? Could you schedule for yourself today? How could you love yourself more and more and more? And so getting back to that quote, the beautiful Alan Watts quote, sometimes we don't know the impact that we have on other people, and we will never know the incredible impact that we have, the lives that we touch. And I was very, very fortunate a few weeks back to hear from a young man that I had met back in Puerto. So I lived in Puerto Escondido in Mexico for 7 months a few years back. And then I went back last year for about a month to see a friend and make new friends, and also pick up my suitcase that I had left the year before. Because the year before, I said, I'm going to go to Italy for 5 weeks. And I stayed for 3 months. So anyway, I went back to get my suitcase, and I decided to stay, I think it was about 4 weeks. And on a couple of occasions, I was outside this restaurant called El Cafecito, which my friend calls Denny's. It kind of is like an American Denny's, but it's got all the things. It has lots of eggs, and it was cheap and delicious and local, and I liked it. And on a couple of occasions, when I was coming and going, I chatted with one of the young people that was working out front. And we just discussed things that were going on in our lives. And I listened to some dreams that he had and some goals that he had and some things that he had to work on in order to achieve those goals. And I, just like who I am, I think is an encourager, a supporter. I do believe my role on earth, or my purpose, is many things. We all have many purposes, but is to be a cheerleader. It comes naturally to me, and it fills my heart. And to be an encourager and a cheerleader is just something I've always been and I've always done, and it feels good. And so I was cheering him on, and we had, I don't know how many conversations, not that many. And then I left. Thankfully, we stayed connected via Instagram, and we hadn't connected in basically a year. And a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night, I was up late, I was inspired, and I was making a reel. I was making a reel for Instagram, and I saw a message pop up. And I thought, I don't know if I should listen to this message because I should probably get to bed. It's quite late. And it was a message from this young man. I couldn't resist opening it. And he said, I never got a chance to thank you. Thank you so much for your encouragement. I'm now living in Mexico City, and I'm doing the things that I wanted to do. And I said, oh my goodness, how heartwarming to hear from you. What a gift you've given me to let me know that our brief interactions made a difference to you, meant something to you. And then he said at one point, I see that you started a podcast. That's amazing. Good for you. And I had completely forgotten that last year when I was in Puerto for that month, because a podcast is something I've been wanting to do for such a long time, I mentioned it to him. I intended on going to one of the co-working spaces there. I went a couple of times, but never followed through. And so here's this young man who is on the way to achieving more and more of his personal goals and his dreams. And he took a couple of minutes out to let me know that the conversations that we had a positive influence on his life. And his reaching out to me had such a positive influence for me because, one, it was amazing to hear from him. Two, I'm thrilled that he's doing what he wants to be doing, and he's on his way to doing more things, and I can't wait to keep in touch and learn more and hear more and support him and shout out whatever he's doing and share with the world when I can. And he gave me a gift. He gave me a gift to remind me that I mentioned to him that I had a dream too. I had a dream of starting the podcast, and I'm actually doing it. And it just felt so connected and so wonderful. Even right now, I just got like this warm feeling in my chest that went all the way to my toes. And I am someone who, when someone's going through something or someone has something exciting that they're working on, I want to cheer them on. I want to know. I want to be supportive. I want to be your biggest cheerleader. And also when I see beauty, I'm walking down the street, I see someone who looks beautiful, someone who has a nice outfit on, someone who has a gorgeous smile. I remember recently my mom and I were on a cruise, and it meant a lot to me when somebody would say hello. Most of the time it was the people that worked on the ship, and they would say hello. And I started to say, thank you for your smile. And it became like a thing that I said, because those smiles genuinely made my day. My mom and I went on that cruise because she lost both of her parents within a month earlier this year. And I also think too, this evening when I started to let the emotions flow, I was very much thinking back to that time, and the grief sort of welled up. And so we're having this beautiful time, and my mom and I are connecting, and it was such a beautiful gift to spend this quality time together. And there was grief, and there was beauty in people's smiles. When someone smiles at you, it feels like love. When someone smiles at you and says, oh, good morning, how was your day? Oh, buongiorno. It feels like a warm hug. And so if we go back to that quote, I just really want to remind you that that smile, that kind look that you gave someone, when you held the door open for someone, when you took the time to be kind in whatever interaction you were having, that means something to someone. And not everyone is going to reach out. Like, I got so lucky to get that gift that this young man who's now living his goals and his dreams in Mexico City, not everybody's going to reach out to let you know, but I want to let you know that you make a difference. Our days can sometimes seem like it's the same thing, one after the next, after the next. How are we making a difference? Do we really matter? Yes, I'm here to say yes. The fact that you're listening to this right now makes a difference to me and my heart. And I may never know who you are, but I want to take this moment to thank you, because your listening is making a difference. And I love you for listening. I appreciate you for listening. And so this shorter episode is just a reminder that in this moment, you are loved more than you could ever know, that you make a difference more than you could ever know, that there is someone somewhere that's thinking about you, there's someone somewhere that's longing to be in contact with you, and some of those people will reach out, and some of them may never. And my invitation is there someone in this moment that you've been thinking of? Is there someone in this moment that you love, that you appreciate, that you could send a note of appreciation, that you could call and say, hey, I miss you, I love you. Or you could write a letter and say, this is the impact that you had on my life, and you've been meaning to do it, and you never did. Because those moments of love and connection mean so, so much. To get a letter out of the blue from someone letting you know that you impacted their life. For me to get that note from this young guy who was so kind to even take the time, even as I said it again, my whole heart expanded, like tingled. I feel love, and I feel loved. So as we move forward in this week ahead, may you take the time to let somebody know what they mean to you. May you take the time to write someone a love note. May you take a moment to appreciate someone. And may you put your hand on your heart like I'm doing right now. Take a deep breath in, deep into your belly. And exhale, trust and believing that you are so, so loved, more than you will ever, ever know. Sending you love on your journey. Please feel free to email me if you do send a note to someone, dksuddy@yahoo.ca. You can find me on Facebook, Danielle Suddy, and on Instagram, danielle.suddy. Let's spread some more love, and let's remember how loved we truly always are.